Voice of Ambazonia. Internationalize the struggle and keep Ground Zero abreast. Cash App 240-486-8768. Hashtag $AMBOABC. Zelle, donations at ambazoniafoundation.org. PayPal, support@abcambath.com. Thank you. This is Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless. Bringing the state of the struggle on your fingertips. Unmasking the genocide in Ambazonia. Reporting first-hand untold stories from Africa. Donate to ABC Amba TV today, the voice of Ambazonia. Internationalize the struggle and keep Ground Zero abreast. Cash App 240-486-8768. Hashtag $AMBOABC. Zelle, donations at ambazoniafoundation.org.
Like some would have preferred us to believe, are fast gaining more credit with their predictions. We may all just be realizing so soon that she could have just been their stepping stone or scapegoat. President Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako for the first time reacts to paparazzi, allegations and blackmail, chooses to facilitate investigations, but his vice, Dr. Harrison Abongwa, goes on a rampage. Why are they agitating, fidgeting and jittering? Why the sudden digression? Who is actually on the side of truth? Necessity is laid upon me to dedicate at least an episode of Moment of Truth in this regard. But before we even make that consideration, CNN Africa highlights the danger that awaits AFCON in the Cameroons this January. It is, however, unfortunate that the same report will carry a gross underestimation of the actual collateral humanitarian damage Ambazonia has incurred during the 5-year-long war. Hours away from AFCON, what does Ambazonia need to stay focused at this time? Ambazonia, we may be having a man at the helm of the Restoration Council who does not own a copy of the interim constitution. Leakages, utterances, actions and reactions have helped us to uncover the triangle. And what is this triangle? Mr. Elvis Kometa, chairman of the Restoration Council; Dr. Harrison Abongwa, vice president of the interim government; Mr. Chris Arno, communications secretary of the interim government. What are they up to? To examine in depth these revelations, Honorable Louis Etongwe of the Restoration Council and former Secretary of State for Home Affairs and Community Mobilization Ambrose Itenje have both opted to respond to our call. This evening 9 p.m. Amber time, Moment of Truth, Season 1, Episode 4 must not be missed. And I, your servant and host, Tarh Paddy King, look forward with great anticipation. Live on ABC Amba TV, the People's Television. Stay tuned.
Master Robusta on the beat.
mala be manu ye mala ma wen ti twa fa fa ne lung ye na ma tim bu lung ye yi bin ye kia fa chu ma nya mo lo chu ma nan dong ma se kie ma chu wen nan wen ne fi jigide ina bana wen koma wen koma ite ma wen koma ina bana wen koma ite ma wen koma chum chuma 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 na wen bagili asatse na wen ba na wen tira kumichi bo wen bagili asatse bo wen ba bung to never restus yo step na me bubble must buna is yeah buna fitasi thing yo step na me bubble must buna is yeah buna fitasi thing la ikoma wen ni ti ya buniluma la wen koma wen ni ti ya buniluma la fen koma wen ni ti ya pasiluma la just koma wen ni ti ya builuma la ikoma wen ni ti ya buniluma la wen koma wen ni ti ya buniluma chum chuma chum chuma chum chuma will let you from young Fredo chum chuma chum chuma ankumte maticha to divine chum chuma chum betonai orashus chum chuma chum chuma do de do
Chairman of the Restoration Council, Dr. Harrison Abongwa, Vice President of the Interim Government, Mr. Chris Arno, Communications Secretary of the Interim Government. What are they up to? To examine in depth these revelations, Honorable Louis Etongwe of the Restoration Council and former Secretary of State for Home Affairs and Community Mobilization Ambrose Itenje have both opted to respond to our call. This evening 9 p.m. Amber time, Moment of Truth, Season 1, Episode 4 must not be missed. And I, your servant and host, Tarh Paddy King, look forward with great anticipation. Live
condition, volonté ensemble. Diplôme to diplôme te, la grâce me suffit. Critère bay besoin golu, moto te amo kili, akokite ko.
Underestimation of the actual collateral humanitarian damage Ambazonia has incurred during the 5-year-long war. Hours away from AFCON, what does Ambazonia need to stay focused at this time? Ambazonia, we may be having a man at the helm of the Restoration Council who does not own a copy of the interim constitution. Leakages, utterances, actions and reactions have helped us to uncover the triangle. And what is this triangle? Mr. Elvis Komita, Chairman of the Restoration Council, Dr. Harrison Abongwa, Vice President of the Interim Government, Mr. Chris Arno, Communications Secretary of the Interim Government. What are they up to? To examine in depth these revelations, Honorable Louis Etongwe of the Restoration Council and former Secretary of State for Home Affairs and Community Mobilization Ambrose Itenje have both opted to respond to our call. This evening 9 p.m. Amber time, Moment of Truth, Season 1, Episode 4 must not be missed. And I, your servant and host, Tarh Paddy King, look forward with great anticipation. Live on ABC Amber TV, the People's Television. Stay tuned.
You're watching the People's Television.
Good evening, Ambazonia. Happy New Year and welcome to another edition of Moment of Truth, Episode 4 of Season 1. You're welcome. We woke up this morning to see on Facebook individuals agitating and reacting to the president's response of a certain allegation. The president, in his endeavor to facilitate investigations as per the allegation, has suddenly provoked, attacked. The same individuals who have been talking on the media for several months, levying blames, accusations, and making vain statements are today trying to drown the voice of the president, who is calling for investigations to start now. As we speak to you, in a couple of days from today, by weekend, this weekend I mean, AFCON will be kicking off in the Cameroons. CNN rarely has picked on our story, but unfortunately, CNN will present a gross underestimation of the actual collateral humanitarian damage that we have faced for about 5 years and counting. Distraction, confusion everywhere. What does Ambazonia need at this critical time to stay focused? Those who are wanting you to believe that the interim government is not doing enough to stop AFCON are the ones perpetrating most of the destruction we see out there. What is their game plan? They have suddenly digressed from that mode, that one woman, that one cuckoo, into now elections and constitutions. And today, it is the president of the Federal Republic of Amazonia who is standing on the hill, waiting to be stoned. What is happening? With me on the panel is Sango Luis Etongo. You already know him. Unfortunately, the last time we were unable to have him really talk with us because of communication and connection issues. I hope today we're going to have something better. Also, someone I did not announce, Pastor Commando, that has chosen to join the discussion, and former Secretary of Home Affairs and Community Mobilization, Ambrose Itenje. Gentlemen, good evening and welcome.
Yeah, good evening, Paddy.
If you did just say hi to me, please. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Comrade Sango. Good evening. Good evening.
Thank you,
I'm happy to get you. I would appreciate if the sound could go away so that we can start. I believe you've all checked your sounds. Thank you very much.
It's 5 on 5
right.
here.
Perfect. How you all enjoying the new year?
Well, with me,
We thank God. It started well anyway. So, but although just because of the scuffles we read this morning, maybe dampening the new year, but let's see how it goes.
Okay. Permit me, gentlemen, to make this analogy that will enable us to kickstart our discussion with Moment of Truth, Season 1, Episode 4 this evening. I want us to look at it this way. There are leakages out there. The president has a private discussion with the chairman of the Restoration Council, and a couple of minutes later on, you have certain activists with full details already purporting them on their platforms. A certain Atiabet Bruno has a leaked audio, and in his audio, he has positioned himself as a lobbyist of Mr. Chris Arno at the Restoration Council, briefing him of every detail and actually his side. According to the audio, this same individual had already taken side. Leakages have also unveiled to us that certain members of the Restoration Council are pushing so hard that Mr. Chris Arno and Mrs. Iringwa be suspended as a solution, be suspended until a reconciliation can be achieved as a solution. But there is a smoke screen, because intelligence also has proven that these individuals pushing to have these two suspended are supporters of Chris Arno. So what is their game plan? Because Mr. Chris has suspended himself from his duties, 2 months now and counting. And he has technically and strategically created for himself a way forward. So a suspension, based on my observation, may be redundant or may not be useful. Why do they want Madam Irene Gwa to forcefully be suspended from her duties in spite? This is quite concerning. Yesterday, in a meeting, intergovernmental meeting with the president, an urgent intergovernmental meeting with the president of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, we were briefed of some of these leakages and the attitude and maybe the allegations posed at the level of the Restoration Council by his successor, his constitutional successor, Dr. Harrison Abongwa. When I observe or examine what chairman of the Restoration Council would say to the president, I must tell Ambazonians, I particularly am not surprised after APNC. When I look at the conduct of the Secretary of State for Communications and ID, Chris Anna, on the social media, I must tell Ambazonians that I am not surprised. But when you look at the way the Vice President, Dr. Harrison Abongwa, will behave during yesterday's meeting, I must tell Ambazonians today that I am shocked. The Vice President did not show up in the meeting as someone who wanted to participate, but someone who was ready to disrupt. When he came into the meeting, he was throwing tantrums at the president. And even after the president warned him that if you continue insulting me, I will send you away, he didn't stop. It would appear he did not want the president to communicate. If he was interested to have his side heard by the over 118 Ambazonians representing institutions that were there to listen, he would have been patient so that his side of the story could have been gotten. Few hours later, we saw his letter already floating around the social media. Thank God, Mr. President has reacted. And those who have been criticizing his silence as proof that he is guilty of every allegation are now wanting Ambazonians to believe that he is trying to be offensive. The days ahead might be uncertain. After talking with the president, he is calm, strategic, and working with some of his defense officials so that the right thing can be done. Comrade Luis, Sango Luis, I will start with you as far as this discussion tonight is concerned. This is a critical time. You just left your seat. I hope you'll be back soon. This is a critical time, Comrade Luis. It's a critical time for the nation. We are now seeing strange behaviors. People creating or fabricating problems and wanting it to seem as though the interim government is incompetent. What is really their objective? So, Comrade Luis, my first question to you is, what is brewing? What is happening in the Restoration Council? Can you talk to us, please? I can't hear you. Maybe you may have to unmute yourself.
I think I have a problem here. Hold on.
Perfect. It is good right now.
Yes, but I'm getting only okay. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear, please.
Okay, good. Because I didn't get the question.
My question to you is, considering all that is happening right now, what is happening at the Restoration Council?
Well, thank you, Paddy, and my other members of the panel. If you are a parent and you have squabbles among the siblings, I think it's the right thing to do. Just get the facts from the children and find out exactly what is going on to make an informed decision. If it means to penalize the child because one did something wrong, I mean, you have to look into the facts. So basically, the Restoration Council has a process of receiving information, analyzing information, and making a decision based on the information we've gathered. And I just want to promise Ambazonians that they shouldn't panic. We're in the process of sifting information to see who went wrong, who was wrong, and who was right. And sometimes these things are not, they happen because someone has an axe to grind. So I just want Ambazonians and your listening audience to know that we are in the process of making very important decisions because we're sifting information from the hearings that we have been having over a period of time. And I can tell you, we spend numerous hours hearing from members who we think have the adequate information for us to make these decisions. So it's not something that we have to rush. Rushing is very tricky. When you rush over things, I think most of the time you make very bad decisions because you did not have the adequate information. So I want to promise Ambazonians that we're working very hard. It's not like a house on fire. Maybe it is, and maybe not. But certainly, it was my intent to come to your show and actually promise Ambazonians that we're working very, very, very hard on this. We don't want to rush into judgment. The chaos sometimes may come as a result of conflicting opinions. And every time somebody has conflicting opinions, there's always a rush to judgment that you are right, you are wrong. So we want to use what we have at hand to make those decisions, but be rest assured that as the administrative arm of this government, the Restoration Council takes its business very, very serious. We don't play over it. And I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, our Ambazonian people should have trust in the Restoration Council. We're working on it. It's a work in progress, if you will.
Comrade Luis, Sango
Yes.
Luis, I think that's the way you prefer to be called. Before
Correct.
I get to the others, I want to stay on you. You are asking or requesting that the Ambazonian people should continue to invest trust at the Restoration Council. But we have a man at the helm of the Restoration Council who has made utterances, unconstitutional utterances. His conduct might also not be regarding or respectful to his portfolio. First of all, 2018, he was the lone representative, even after the interim government unilaterally or collectively denied that APNC was not the appropriate conference for anyone to participate. But he represented and spoke. There's a video out there. He spoke like chairman. Few days to the 31st of December last year, he, in a private discussion with the president, is already out there, told the president to get himself ready and to put on his gloves because he is imposing an election that some would consider unconstitutional. After all this, why do you think that people should continue trusting the Restoration Council?
Okay, that's a very good question, Paddy. People always have opinions about interpreting the Constitution, and as chairman of the Ethics Committee, it is incumbent upon me to make sure that we live by the rule of law. And living by the rule of law simply means that, and I cherish living by the rule of law, because the only way you can get things done rightly is to live by the book. I love to live by the book, which simply means live by the rule of law. I think in many ways, the reason why Chairman has been emphasizing on this issue is because, first of all, there is a controversy whether or not there is a mandate coming from the interim constitution, whether or not a president can have 2 mandates or another mandate, that it is not well spelled out. A constitution is people have different views or interpretation of the constitution. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of controversy whether or not President Sarko should face elections. Some say it is not written in the constitution. Now, I think I don't have an opportunity to show you a video here where Dr. Sarko was being sworn. Whatever you say orally is legally binding. He said expressly, it was Chairman Kometa who actually presided when he was taking over, when he took over as president of interim government. And he read a few words to commemorate that occasion. And if you read or you listen to that audio or video rather, he expressly said he used 2 years, that after 2 years, you cannot be re-elected. Or basically saying 2 years is over. We can proceed from there. So I think the chairman of the Restoration Council is following the rule of law. What I was trying to say basically is that when you accept something which is orally dictated to you, technically it's legally binding. So I don't think there's any confusion about this. There's no confusion about it. There should be no confusion. Now, as I said, people are subject to interpret things differently. And some say, okay, it's not written in the constitution that that the president is limited to 1 term, that you can go forever. Now, I don't think that's how it works. But certainly, I just want to make a distinction between what the president did or said when he was being inaugurated and what is required in the constitution.
No,
so it's an open statement.
I'm still gonna come to you on this because I also am aware of what the president has said in reaction to that. But then I ask the 2 panelists just to be patient so that I get to you on this, please. Now, are you now saying that the president should have paused the inauguration ceremony to argue what he considered was unconstitutional?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. If Chairman Kometa said 2 years limit, which he said expressly, and I think if I was the president, I would have said, let's pause, hold on a minute. By agreeing, he reread what the president said. If I was Dr. Sarko, I would have said, wait a minute, let's pause it out. If he knew the constitution doesn't go beyond that, he should have paused to make it clear to him whether or not we have a limited period as for the first time. He should have done that, technically.
Sango Luis, let me take you back on that. Who did the chairman consult at the time he was making that decision that was unconstitutional? Prior to that inauguration, who did he consult?
You mean chairman or the president?
I'm talking about chairman committee.
Okay, well, I think it was done within. I think it was done within the context of the experts, because I know there were a lot of folks in that room. So well, the experts are the constitutional experts, or those who were participating in the inauguration. They knew what it was.
Is that the procedure that is required to change a constitution?
Well, that's it. I think it's not a procedure to change the constitution. It was a process of inaugurating the president.
So,
whether or not
I don't change a constitution during inauguration.
Well, that's not a good question. The reason I say that is not a good question is that in every binding document, there are some technical issues that you cannot define them unless somebody who's an expert would relay that information to you.
We will get back to that. Pastor Commando, do you want to react? Pastor Commando, do you want to react?
Actually, I am not an expert in the constitutional things, but I think that a little conscience will tell us that there are some certain things that we should do if we are really wanting to keep to the rule of law and go back to Ambazonia and keep to the rule of law. What I would like to ask the Restitution Councilman, even though I'm a panelist like him, I want to find out whether that reading that Comita made on that day, the president was privy to it before that reading. Because when you say that he would have stopped and said no, I don't think it's very, how do I call it? It's not, I don't know what word to use, to codify someone. It's not very decent to do that, and then after that was done and eventually recognized and realized that that is not what the Constitution stipulates. For the past 2 years, what has stopped them or you, the Restitution Council people, to get back to the Constitution and ratify this? Because Constitution is given for amendment. I mean, and if you know that something is coming up like this, would have kept working so that when it comes, lay people like us who don't read and interpret the Constitution will be able to see the naked. But if you say that a statement that is orally made is binding, even though it is against what we don't understand to be the interpretation of the Constitution, it gives me a lot of I don't understand. Thank you. That's all I will have to say, Paddy.
Comrade Ambrose, you have been silent. Please make a contribution before we make progress.
Okay, thank you for bringing this up. It's a bit bizarre to, observe what is happening around us, and these are things which I can tell you, Paddy. We started talking about this thing before the AASC in Berlin, right? And even after that Berlin, if we are in this mess we are today, it's just because the resolutions we took there have not been fully implemented. Because what we actually defined is, I will come back to that, but I just want to say, we said the Restoration Council, because at that time we said we are giving power to the people. Members of the Restoration Council should be coming from the 61 RGs of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. And each county, all the members of the Restoration Council from each county will have one vote. No matter how they decide, they will go and sit down. If there are any things like voting in the Restoration Council, it means that a county will come out one vote, so 13 votes from 13 counties. Now, with this stuff of Honorable Sango saying that the president, during his inauguration, should have stopped Mr. Cometa from saying whatever he read. For me, I find that, I've watched lots of inaugurations, right? You are being sworn in. You don't determine what an individual says. Those things that the individual has to say should have been determined by the Restoration Council, not by an individual. These things should have been determined and written down and discussed by the Restoration Council. That is why you are there. That is why you have different committees that are in there. They should have worked these things out. It is not something for an individual. No, being the head of the Restoration Council doesn't mean that you take decisions over the other members of the Restoration Council, because that's why we said we should be equally represented at that level. That's the most powerful house in our land, Ambazonian. And if that is not respected, it's a problem. Now, even there, do we have the 61 LGA representatives? Are these people that have been voted from the LGA? Are they the people sitting in there, or they are just people who are appointed to be there? These are issues that need to even be resolved. Because once we resolve these issues, we'll never come to where we are right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. You have highlighted something very instrumental, Comrade Ambrose. You're saying that the Restoration Council is not fully constituted. I believe Sango Luis agrees with that. But this is where I want to get back to you, Sango Luis.
Yes.
Observing the fact that the chairperson of the legislative arm of our interim government, this is a common law system, that should be a man of dignity and integrity, will bypass barriers to make a pre-posterior statement during the day of inauguration, and that's creating problems today. Do you think that it will be wrong for anyone to conclude that whatever he did was a calculated act of treason?
Well, let me say this, Paddy. First of all, when that inauguration took place, some of us were not privileged to be members of the Restoration Council. And I can assure you that if the chairman brought this to the council, there would have been objection to it. Some of us would have objected to it. But I can say this with an open mind, with an open heart, that we did not know, some of us did not know some of these arrangements, which were probably done behind the closet. So certainly my point is, that statement was not brought to Restoration Council for a decision to inaugurate Dr. Sako as the interim government president. It was not. And I can assure you 100% about that. We did not have that information. I'm just acting like I'm acting on behalf of the devil's advocate. But certainly I can assure you, if he brought that statement to the council, I would have objected to it, because number one, I wasn't sure whether or not that clause was appropriate. So I'm here to say categorically that the Restoration Council was not privy to that information. We don't know the statement that was written or were written, to expedite his inauguration as the interim president. That's what I can say on behalf of the whole issue. But certainly the technical part of it, which has to do with, if you agree something legally verbally is legally binding. That's just a fact. I'm not making it up. So if anyone can dispute it, go and check and find out exactly.
I've read some aspects of law, and I wouldn't want to give out strategy now. And I also want to say that there's something about what happened in the video that is not legally binding. But I'll keep that away from TV today. Now let's make progress. I'm still with you, Comrade Luis.
Okay.
We have a communication secretary.
Before you go on,
yes, go ahead.
I can't see you.
Yes.
I can't see you. You need to take my video off your face. The technical team should take it. I can't see you from my end.
You cannot see.
No, you take it away. You take it away. If you have your video on your face, put your mouse there and then shift. You'll go.
Listen, I'm seeing you, and if I'm seeing you and the audience are seeing you, be rest assured everything is fine. I don't want you to touch something there and disrupt this program. It's quite important. Okay. Now this is the point that this is where I was driving at. We have institution, and I respect you a lot, Sango Luis. The advice you give to me, I've spoken with you just 3 times, and every time I called you, you have taken the role of a father. That's what I appreciate. You have advised me on what I'm doing and encouraged me. That I agree. I really appreciate. But this is something that is quite concerning. We are building institutions. These institutions deserve to be respected. And we the youths, expect elders like you to enforce our institutions that are pilot institutions, yet in progress. not complete to be respected. You know that according to procedures and protocols, Mr. Arnold was supposed to report himself first and foremost at the level of the Ethics Committee before coming to the Restoration Council. When he used the pretext that the Ethics Committee or Commission was not competent enough, bypassed that institution and came to the Restoration Council, don't you think it would have been dignified for the Restoration Council to have sent him back?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
I keep having calls and it's disrupting this. Just bear with me.
Please,
can you hear me?
When you have the call, first stop them. Go ahead, I can hear you, please. Yes, go ahead, I can hear you, please. I'm sure they don't want you to participate, so they want to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. You know, I think here's the point. I lost my mother, as I told you, and a lot of people are calling in for messages. That's the reason. Yes, I lost my mother on the 1st of January. So that's why I'm having interruption. People are calling in to sympathize with my loss. But certainly, if you can repeat the question again, I think I will.
Interrupt you. You remember when you told me that yesterday? I told you, Daddy, you're a daddy. Looking at you,
yes,
an achieved man, most probably with grandchildren, you should be proud of your mom. And mom having you is evidence that she fought a good fight of faith. She has finished her course. It is a time for you to set the record straight. That notwithstanding, my question to you is this. You are supposed to be help to make sure that the laws of the land are respected. The institutions, pilot institutions, are respected. When Mr. Arnold bypassed the Ethics Committee or Commission and came to the Restoration Council, don't you think it would have been necessary to send him back, aside his claim that the council is not competent?
That's an excellent question. And I say that it's an excellent question because, you know, in every action, there's always a reaction. It's just a fact of life. When something happens, there is a tendency or propensity, you know, to react otherwise. And here's my knowledge about that part of it. The Ethics Commission, for what I know, is almost exclusively on behalf of the president. And that is why we've made a decision to separate the Ethics Commission from the cabinet. It should be an independent section. And the complaint is that if Secretary Chris took his problem to the Ethics Commission, he wouldn't have been well or fairly treated because it was like an unfriendly territory. So the only way or the reason why he reacted in that manner is to come to the Restoration Council where he knew and he knows it's a diverse body. And he thought, and I think it's an objective view, if I go there, I will be fairly treated because people have diverse views about the Restoration Council. So I'm not defending what he did, but I'm looking in perspective, drawing from experience and what he has said about the Ethics Commission. I think that's the reason why he reacted the way he did. He was running away from the lion's den to come to a more comfortable place, which of course is the right place to come and lay a complaint. And so before he came to the complaint, he sent something to us complaining about the ineptitude of the government. So that said, I think, in my view, he was running away from the lion's den to find comfort where he could be treated fairly. That is just what I can say about that.
Before I get a reaction from the others, I want to find out from you, Comrade Lewis. Do you think that thus far, Mr. Anu's comportment, even after he brought the matter, he imposed on everyone what he wanted to be done? Do you think his comportment has respected even the Restoration Council?
Well, I think he's not an angel. One thing is not an angel, just like every one of us. He has made some mistakes. For instance, when he brought his complaint to the council, we were working on the complaint that he brought to the council. But before we knew it, he came online on TV to say certain things which were not very convenient because, number one, we are not even finished completing, to search the information and make our conclusions. So him coming to revolve what had not been completed, in my judgment, it was very wrong. It was a wrong thing because at least it would have given the Restoration Council the courtesy to work on his complaint before going out to say what he said. So certainly, that's what I said. He's not an angel. There were some of the errors that he did, but overall, I think, just like I said in retrospection, he was merely coming to a more comfortable place for his problem to be resolved.
I get that. But you realize that you cannot be the one dictating at every time. The comportment you have just mentioned now, in my opinion, should have been revealing to the Restoration Council what the cabinet is facing as far as this individual is concerned.
Yes, Paddy, here's the thing. There is one thing in life I realized was extremely important. Let's put it in context. It's very difficult for anyone to control what somebody is going to do to you. But you can react. You can react. No, you can control what somebody does to you, but you can't control what someone has to do to you. But you can control how you react to it. So that was to me, that's the basic thing that members of the Restoration Council would adhere to. What he did, we had no control over it. Okay, what he did, we had no control over it, but we can control exactly what he did to us, what he did to the council. So our reaction would be more reasonable or rational if we did not tell him to do what he had to do. We only had to act the way he reacted. So what you do to someone, you can't control it. How you react to what the person does to you is the most important thing that we can put in context. I don't know if you understand what I mean.
Now whatever reaction you're talking about, before the others react to what you've said, are you saying that your reaction will despise insubordination when it comes to the commander-in-chief himself?
No, now remember, remember you just, correct. Now remember you just said something here, it's just like you let the cat out of the bag. You said something here just not too long ago.
Yeah.
With respect to suspending these two individuals, Ma, Irene, and Secretary Chris. Now, you can tell members of the Restoration Council were not happy with that type of behavior. Now, you can see now why they made a decision, a concerted decision to suspend them. And that's a reaction to what he did. So, you can't have it both ways. It's either or. So that's the way to answer the question. We have reacted the way he acted because we thought it was not prudent for him to have done that.
Now the last part on this before I go to the two speakers. Is it in the office or the constitutional boundary of the Restoration Council to suspend members of the president's cabinet or to make recommendation as to what the president has got to do?
It's all of the above. And here's the thing. We have, like for instance, let me give some examples. When I say all of the above, I mean it from the bottom of my heart, right in my bone marrow. We as members of the Restoration Council, we can make and unmake things. Now, remember when Seseku Ayok misbehaved? We had the authority to impeach him because we know for a fact, or we knew back then, what he did was absolutely outrageous. The same reason or the powers that we have within the council is
now
those
you're talking
same
about
powers.
president. I'm talking about a cabinet member that has been appointed by the president to work. You're talking about a president, which is
No, I'm just trying. Yeah, and I'm just trying. I was drawn.
Yeah,
I was
no,
drawn from perspective.
the compatibility here doesn't suit because we're talking about a president that presents treasonable behavior. But I'm talking about cabinet members appointed by president. Maybe you want to take that into consideration as you explain.
No, maybe you can rephrase that question, because what I was trying to do was to give reasons why we, as members of the Restoration Council, we act based on the law. We follow the law very strictly, and we make sure we follow what can help us make better decisions. I was trying to draw perspective of what we did to expel or impeach Ayub Tabe. Maybe you need to explain that again. Maybe I didn't get your point very well, but that's exactly what I was trying to do.
Okay, I get it, and I agree with what was done at the time Sisiko Julius Ayuk Tabe was trying to make dictates from jail. I agree, but this
Correct.
is quite different from a cabinet member that would have been appointed by Sisiko or by the current president, Dr. Samuel Ikomesako. Now, Pastor Commando, do you want to react?
You see, this talk about this particular issue is not actually my area of jurisdiction, and I would prefer to go ahead and say that as far as Ambazonian's construction or reconstruction is concerned, because I was there in West Cameroon or Southern Cameroons before 1960, and before the La République du Cameroon jumped in to take us as slaves, and not only that, also enslave our minds. And many people were born in that vicinity, and they grew up with the mentality of that land. But before this incident happened, I had seen the West Cameroon before. And what we are talking here, to me, is not very relevant, in the sense that we need to go back to our institutions and what we call the rule of the law that I saw during that time. And whatever is happening is not going to be the opinions of people, of individuals. We'll get back to the law to find out whether it's terms of reference of any group, of any of the institutions. If it contradicts the law, then we will make sure that we put it in place. So by so saying, I'm saying that the Ambazonian quest for going back to the land and to restore our land is in progress. And so everything we are doing here is progressing. So even the Constitution that has a lot of questions and sort of some kind of interpretations from different groups and different kinds of people, it's not very a big deal, because we are progressing. When this constitution was brought in place, maybe in 2016 or 17 or 18, we were not evolved as we are today. And so the evolvement which we are evolving would need to go alongside the constitution, amending the clauses that do not fit into today, so that we can progress and make our land to be the land that I saw before we were taken over by La République du Cameroon. So all these things that we are talking here, I would just want to say that sincerely we are progressing, and like the honorable what's his name, Elongo,
Luis
right?
Etongwe.
Yes,
Sango
honorable
Luis.
Luis Etongwe. Yes, as he said, we are progressing, and as we are progressing, some of the articles that are not falling into place. In fact, he made a statement that nobody is an angel. But I want to submit here that even angels had their share. Angels fell. That's why we have demons and evil spirits today
Yes.
that are inhabiting people and making people to behave the way they behave. Now, if you are behaving right, following the law that you yourself you have put in place without violating it, you have the good angel that is living in you. But if you are misbehaving and wanting to go by your own dictates, leaving first of all the law of God, because all Ambazonians say that this is a God-ordained struggle. And if it's a God-ordained struggle, why don't you put the God in front so that he can lead us? But we're putting God behind and running with what we call knowledge and dumping up things here and there. What I want to say actually is that I am a teacher on church and politics, and these few days of being with all this wrangling, I have discovered that 3/4 of the people are going with the definition of politics, what is said on the streets. I condemn the materials that are in your house. I take the same materials, which I have condemned, and I start building my house. That is dirty politics, and that is done only by dirty people. So what I'm saying here is that if we are sincere that we want to go to Ambazonia, we are not angels. All the people we are talking about here, none of us, we are not angels. So what I'm trying to say here is that if we are sincere, let's admit our wrongs, admit our mistakes, because we are not to find out who is right, who is wrong. That when you find out who is wrong and who is right, and you suspend them, does that suspension give them what they're supposed to be when they come back after the suspension? Of course not. So suspension is just a discipline and a punishment that will not change the hearts of the people. I would suggest that we get back to talking as real matured people who are looking for a country of which there are going to be differences in culture, differences in talking and everything. I will start building it now, because if we don't start building it now based on our institutions, this wrangling will leave and also go back home when we are there, and the fighting will continue. So let's get back to a structure if we cannot fear the structure of God, because I know that if every Ambazonian gets into the structure of God and allow God to lead us in this thing, you'll be able to accept your mistakes. Nobody will tell you be humble. Nobody will tell you try to do this. No, you'll be able to accept your mistakes. And then when you accept your mistake, we make the correction and we move ahead. So sitting down here to discuss this one has done this and he has not done this and that will not help us. Let's find a way how we can march forward. And the way of marching forward is our constitution. Let's revise our constitution as we are progressing. Let the articles that we actually need to keep us at the now, which are cake because of where we are today, let's bring the articles and put them in place. And then we march forward. I think that would be a better way of doing things if we really want to put the rule of law when we get to Ambazonia. I raise my case.
Thank you very much, Mr. Commander. You have mentioned something. I want to seize this opportunity to announce to Ambazonians. We're going to get constitutional experts, lawyers, and certain individuals within the government to have a series of discussions in the days ahead as to what is needed at this time. And if there is need for any change, what is that need going to look like? Yesterday, the president in his discussion made recommendations. Even during his end of year speech, he also made recommendations on how to go about any constitutional amendment. Comrade Ambrose, I want you to comment on this issue of the Restoration Council has the power to make and unmake. You just react to what
I'm just going to be straightforward with it, right? I'm not mincing my words. When you are appointed by the president as a member of cabinet, the first thing they do is you are vetted, okay, by the Restoration Council. In my part, this is an interview which took part of almost two and a half hours. You grilled, your background, everything you've done, you're really grilled. Even they get to know your grandmother and all that. It's a lot of questions, and I appreciated what the team did. during that interview, and they brought in a member of the ethics committee of who is Obledna Ni Francis, who also helped. So now, if they vet you and they think that you are not suitable for office, they will now do what? A recommendation to the president and say, no, you drop this guy. We don't think he or she is fit for purpose. Is fit to serve the people of Ambazonia. So now, it is the same case now. I'm expecting the Restoration Council to make recommendations, right, to the president about the individuals they have interviewed. And I mean, they have to make those recommendations saying, okay, we think that this individual should be suspended for this reason or whatever, or suspension was mentioned. That's why I'm using it here. But again, we are expecting recommendations to be made. Not that the Restoration Council can do and undo. Of course, we don't want a Restoration Council that can do everything, because that is not giving the power which we need to the institution we created. Then to run it up, and the issue of secretaries going straight from going straight to the Restoration Council is a bit disturbing, because we do have within the cabinet, we have committees. When you have issues, then they set up ad hoc committees to look at this and then come back to us, we deliberate. So that was bypassed. Then we also have the IOC, the Intergovernmental Oversight Committee. This is an independent group of people chosen, and they are not even in the cabinet. Yeah, it's headed by Miley. So this is a group that normally resolve issues even between different departments and also within cabinet members. So this should have been taken to them, and they look at it. Sometimes when they look at it and they feel that they can bring the ethics in, they bring the ethics in, they work together to resolve these issues. So, I mean, we have in place a lot of avenues that we need to exploit. The very fact that Secretary Chris, as I said, I deeply respect him for the work he does and the work he's been doing, but the whole thing is the very fact that Secretary Chris goes to the Restoration Council, and the Restoration Council cannot have that audacity to tell him, we have these institutions. Please, can you be able to try this before you come back to us? It is the same thing here in the UK. There are some claims or courts that you have. You can't go straight to one court. They will tell you, go and try this conflict resolution first. Has it not worked? Try the next one before you come here. So this thing, that's why these institutions are there. And if we can leverage those institutions because we feel that we are above these institutions, then it's wrong. There's nobody, I will repeat it here and I will say it again, over and over, there's nobody, no single Ambazonian is above this institution we have put in place. No one. So we need to respect the institutions. And if we don't do, it means that those institutions, they need to really take a firm stand at all times. You know, something that is right is right, something that is wrong is wrong. Let's call it out.
If I may add something to Comrade Ambrose's comment. Yes, yeah. I think I appreciate that point of view. You've spoken very succinctly, because I think some within the Restoration Council have the same opinion, and those opinions have been expressed, and we feel like, okay, he should have gone or followed the protocol. And remember, I said this area that one of the reasons why he came directly into Restoration Council, I'm not making an excuse for what he did. He thought leaving the commission, the section that deals with issues of conflict, it was like he was going to the lion's den. And that's the reason he left the Ethics Commission and came directly to the Restoration Council. That doesn't make it correct, or it doesn't make it right. Two wrongs don't make it right. I'm just trying to say he made a colossal error not to have attended the Ethics Committee before coming to Restoration Council. Certainly, that was an option, but unfortunately, that wasn't the case. So I'm not trying to protect him, but certainly he had a reason why he came to Restoration Council.
I'm happy that at the end of the day, you have said it categorically that he made a colossal error. I want to use your words. And this leads me to something I would say a statement. If you are now calling us them, maybe I know that's not what you imply, but to say that the working relationship between him and his president, because he's like every other Amazonian, and he has been called to serve under this president. You are affirming before Amazonians listening to us today that his relationship between him and his president is in jeopardy. And he has proven beyond reasonable doubt, and you know it, we know it, that he is disrespectful of the person that should be his leader. Now, for us to make progress with our discussion, please, nobody should call now. We will open the call lines in about 45 minutes time. Just give us some time to progress with these discussions. Let us make progress. I want to make an analogy so that we can talk about AFCON a little bit and analyze what CNN did yesterday. My analogy is this to conclude and to put a nail on this for now. And I also want to announce to Amazonians that what you're seeing out there, the president has officially announced tomorrow, prime time, 8 p.m. Amber time, the president will be live on an inclusive, or I would say exclusive interview. So stay tuned. We will give details right after this program. The president is coming out live to speak tomorrow. So get yourself ready, tell your friends. All the questions you have, you can start sending them in, because we might not be able to take all the calls that you have. But if you send your questions in, we may just pick one of your questions to present to the president. To make progress, let's observe this. A man has a problem within the government or the cabinet, presents the problem, makes dictates, takes the problem, changes the problem, and now from the Restoration Council, we are getting something else, something totally different. They are busy talking and talking and talking. What they don't know, all the messages they sent out there, either via activists or themselves, is that they're trying to drown, they want to drown the president's voice now that he has chosen to react. But what they don't seem to realize is that they are revealing to Amazonians that their objective from onset was not really a quarrel that existed between Iringwa and Chris Arnold. So to make progress, comrades, the CNN highlighted AFCON yesterday. CNN highlighted AFCON and informed the Cameroons of the impending danger that could occur during this competition that Yaoundé has chosen to impose on us Southern Cameroons. Yaoundé, after that report, has proactively responded. As I speak to you right now, we have confirmed reports that Cameroon army have invaded all the Ngeme neighborhood as I speak, arresting civilians. Every uncompleted building, they are installing cameras, and they have been given instruction from Yaoundé to shoot down any suspected individual that could be representing the restoration forces. As I speak to you, construction workers were arrested earlier this morning. I have pictures. We may not have the time to display them. Some were interrogated. The population is currently being intimidated. And I read something Comrade Ambrose shared last night, and that's one of the reasons I brought him on this platform. How we can stay focused. What is needed for us to stay focused. Thank you. Please bring the picture. This is evidence of some of the picture. Please, can we have the picture again? Can we have the picture, please?
Yeah.
That's evidence of a picture evidence of a picture of the army interrogating construction workers, invading the neighborhood, raiding houses, and intimidating the civilian population. At this time, one would expect that those who are claiming that the interim government is not doing enough work would have stayed quiet and stay focused on what is needful. But unfortunately, we have them changing their cards every single second. Now it is the president that has suddenly become a liar. The president is so willing to facilitate and fast forward investigations so that if he be liar, the problem can be solved really soon and Ambazonia can refocus. But it would appear these same individuals are not interested. They have the character of bringing a problem and dictating their procedure. They want things to happen. This is what is happening. Gentlemen, we are here to figure out what is needed to make sure that Ambazonia can be focused at this time. Comrade Ambrose, are you there right now? I may want to start with you on that. Comrade Ambrose, what do you think is required? I'm talking in regards to all the institutions that be the rightful actors. What do you think is required right now to make sure that we can do the needful?
What is required from the institution to make sure we can do what?
The needful. I'm talking about AFCON.
Oh, one thing is very clear. I just believe, as you said from the beginning, this struggle is a God-ordained struggle, right? And this crisis we have is one of the crises which is underreported in the whole world. So for me, I deeply believe the AFCON is an opportunity for Ambazonian to shine. This is an opportunity for our star to be up there, for the world to really understand that you can't be able to trample on human rights in order to celebrate a football festival. You can't be having a carnival football in a region where there is ongoing genocide. So I just believe CNN, as many of us, is already saying what will happen to those who will violate the threats we've given to most of the teams. All the teams that are playing in Ambazonia, we've written to their embassies, we've written to players, top players, captains of these teams, informing them of the impending danger. And I tell you, we continue to share with them on daily basis the Ambazonian Genocide Library, which holds all the atrocities that are happening on our territory on daily basis. So if you watch all of this and you still think that a country that has the worst human rights record in the world, one of the worst human rights records in the world, that is where you want to go and celebrate football, well, be my guest. If you go, you go. Sorry, we can't stop it. But let me tell you, the children, the boys, the girls on the ground, they are ready. They are ready to tell the world, you cannot continue to kill us and pretend as if there is nothing happening. So, what will happen? Quien sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be.
You spoke French. Comrade Sango, please.
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen, and the audience. This, to me, this whole thing is a win-win to us because number one, we are letting the world that it is so unreasonable to participate or have a tournament in a war-torn zone. How dare you? How dare you come to Southern Cameroon to play a tournament when you know it's a war-torn zone? And it's a kind of provocation. And the reason I say it's a win-win is that there will be skirmishes, whether they like it or not. And by them coming to Southern Cameroon to play this tournament, they are exposing themselves, because just like Comrade Ambrose said, letters have been written to the embassies, the players have been informed, the prominent players have been informed, and it is a way that we're already telling the world that we have problems. So for those who never had an opportunity to participate or to know that there is a war, a genocide going in Southern Cameroon, this is the time. And that's the reason I said it's a win-win, because either way, Ambazonians have been exposed. Nations have been exposed that there is an ongoing genocide in Southern Cameroon. So they shouldn't think that because they have the almighty soldier or army that doesn't even match boys on ground zero. It's so laughable to a greater extent. But it is a great opportunity for us to sell to the world that don't ignore what is going on in Southern Cameroon. There's a major genocide. There is a war going in Southern Cameroon. For this tournament to take place in Southern Cameroon is huge. It's a huge provocation, to say the very least. It's a huge provocation. But I think they have helped us in many ways to expose what La République is doing. And I think La République is trying to play a political game to say, oh, everything is okay. That's why we're having these games in Southern Cameroon. They're trying to have it both ways, to diminish the facts, to diminish or undermine the genocide. So playing on our home turf is one way of them trying to tell the world, you know what, well, okay, there's nothing wrong here, but it is not correct, it's not true, but we just have to demonstrate that something is wrong. There is no question about that. We have to demonstrate that, whether it's in our own little way, whatever the case. I think, again, I would not overemphasize the fact that it's a win-win to Southern Cameroonians, to Ambazonia. That's a fact. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sango. This is quite interesting. Pastor Commando, please.
Yes. Paddy, I hear a lot of people. What are you people talking on ABC? AFCON is coming. You're not talking ABC, AFCON, and so on. We are talking AFCON now. I want to tell our televiewers that the television that we are talking here is not what is going to stop what is going on in AFCON, but we need to inform you if that's what you mean. We have put structures in place, and we are ready. And we have said no AFCON in Ambazonia. We didn't say no AFCON in La République Cameroon. Ambazonia, no. And I want to let you people know also that we in the spiritual cabinet and department of Ambazonia, since it is a God-ordained revolution, many people don't know that the battle is on two fronts, the spiritual and the physical. And those who are basing on the physical, they want to hear and look at everything physical. But I want to say that La République du Cameroon is also in the spiritual war. And they have put up satanic entities to blind the people who are coming to play there, hypnotize them, not to listen to and not to reason before taking a step. And we see that the genocide library information has been sent to all these people, but the hypnotic power that La République has done over the minds of the embassies, the players, the countries, is still like it's blinking, it's working. But I want to assure Ambazonians that we in the spiritual department of Ambazonia, which has been handed over to God, we have arrested these demonic powers by the power of God, and the scales are falling out the eyes of those players and those countries, and very soon you'll hear the back off. That CNN came out to give just a little tip of the iceberg, which is not very normal and usual of CNN, is an indication. And that's why we want to tell you to keep your calm. Ambazonia is our land. God has restored it. God has given it back to us. The day the president, Dr. Sako, got up in 2018 and handed over this land to God plus its people, I want to let you know that if tomorrow Dr. Sako says he's withdrawing that handing over, he will make a mistake because he was just to hand over. And if the people of Ambazonia have accepted, God has already stepped in. And so whoever handed over, even if he withdraws, like the pastors who were there with him, anybody who withdraws is withdrawing to himself. That is why I want to assure the Ambazonian people, let not your heart be troubled. And you say, but Pastor, why is it that these people are killing and killing? Do you know when the last straw on a camel's back, when it happens, you want to do everything to devastate? But remember that before we actually got into this situation, God has used, let me put it this, God used him. Don't tell me that, what is that his name? Who spoke in the parliament of La République, that when the people shall rise up, even if you bring the whole army of France and Europe,
Weber.
okay.
Weber.
God used him. Do you know, if people don't know, you don't read the Bible, God spoke to Balaam, one of his very finest prophets, using a jackass. You know what they call jackass? Donkey. And donkey opened his mouth and said, why are you beating me? Why are you beating me? All this time I've obeyed you, why are you beating me? And God opened the prophet's eye, human being, and he saw two angels with a sword ready to slay him because he was going against the will of God. I want to tell Ambazonians, to those of you who think that the God that this nation was handed over to is a Nkwendo or an idol, you are making a big mistake. He is not an idol. It's not the God that you carry in your pocket and then you brush it in the morning, rub it with minyanga, and then carry it along. That is not the God that we handed over the land to. It's not the ancestors. It's the God of heaven, the creator of the heavens and the earth, of whom we worship. And anybody in Ambazonia who is worshiping this God in spirit and in truth will understand and see and hear what we are saying. That's why you're getting the results of what is going on. You don't know what is going on. There is a spiritual backing that at the moment now, as I'm talking to you, they are on the altar, holding on to the horns of God. That God, you must do what we cannot do because we are visible, you are invisible, and there is no distance with you. Go down to Victoria and do what you can do there, and God is doing it. So Ambazonians, don't be afraid. The situation of AFCON has been handled by our security department in the interim government and has been handled by the spiritual department in the interim government, and nothing is going to happen. Take it and rest. Thank you.
To add to that, the Fako Action Group of Fako County working under General Fombat are doing a great job. So we just pray that let us see what happens. Yeah, thank you.
I wouldn't have allowed you to say that. I've just been receiving messages from the office of the president not to make mention of anything that is happening or that has been planned or whatever. But Ambazonians, be rest assured that the situation on the ground is currently being monitored. I want to appreciate those watching from Victoria right now who sent in the intelligence information. The officials in charge have already been informed. Comrade Sylvester Zama and all actors on the ground that are having stakes have been informed on what is happening. There's a video I'm going to play. I want Amazonians to keep sharing until I'm going to disappoint you, gentlemen, to play this before we take questions. But before I get to that video, I would say that CNN did a good job by highlighting our story at this time. But what is really disturbing in whatever they did is this underestimation of the humanitarian damage that has been caused by the BR Army. I'd like to read that paragraph. I think that should be paragraph 3. It says the conflict of that report. It says the conflict in which armed groups are trying to form a breakaway state called Amazonia has killed at least 3,000 people and forced nearly 1 million to flee. This is gross, even if you have to say that is at least, not an at most. Why not even get to, because recently we understand that RFE has announced that 30,000 people have been killed. So why is CNN? This is not a question for you, gentlemen. If you want to make a comment, you can make a comment. I'm just trying to do some analysis here.
Yeah,
Why is CNN,
they are living in the past.
why
CNN
is
is
CNN
living in the
doing
past, and it's not just them. They are living in the past.
Yeah.
So they have, I think they are in the early 2016 of the numbers that have been killed. But again, record shows we've suffered a loss of more than 30,000 ongoing, because again, just lots of mass graves and lots of killings in different areas, lots of massacres. And when you put this together, I mean, it's no brainer to know that we've lost a lot of people, more than this minimalistic estimate here. They are putting in there. Yeah.
Well, I think among
I
other
think,
things, besides what Comrade Ambrose has just said, but it's very shameful that the major media outlets in the world have undermined this conflict. And I'm not surprised that they gave those numbers, because they have no clue of what has been going on in southern Cameroon and Amazonia. They have no clue. So I'm not surprised that they gave those figures, because they have not been interested. And guess what? We're not interested whether they cover it or not. We're interested to make sure that we get our freedom, we get our a state that belongs to Amazonia, where the rule of law will reign. So all of these things are gimmicks. The international community has been very mute in this whole thing, but now something is gaining attraction, or traction, if I will.
Yeah.
That's why I said it's a win-win situation for this AFCON to take place in Victoria. It is a win-win. Trust me.
Yeah.
But I don't care. I don't personally care what the international community does. But the fact is, now they are beginning to realize, or to come to the realization, something is wrong in southern Cameroon, which they have ignored.
Yeah. And I think this can enlighten Amazonians to see that there is most probably an international conspiracy against us. And for those of us who really think that trying to kill our own or destroy our own is a strategy for us to achieve our personal objective, I would say that you are really seriously mistaken. The military of French Cameroon is spending hundreds of millions of francs CFA, taxpayers' money, mostly coming from Southern Cameroon, to finance their army. That is aside subvention from the United States and China and France. So, and we are unable to donate 1 million. I'm going to give you the opportunity. Another thing is the Biya government is very ready to spend billions of francs CFA to lobby PRs. And I don't think that CNN is excluded from it. So if we want to use our space to promulgate falsehood, to manipulate our own people, then history is recording. I'm talking to those youths who have suddenly make it a duty to promulgate information that they themselves cannot even verify. Some of us have taken upon ourselves. You want to say something?
Apropos talking of those youths, you know what is shameful is the individuals who are out there making the loudest noises. They don't contribute a penny to this struggle. If you look at the books of the LGAs, they are not in their LGAs. They are paying nothing. You look at the level of the country, they are contributing nothing. But they will make loud noises out there. Where did they send their own money? You know,
That's
we
unfortunate.
as a big society, Amazonia, we are structured. I mean, we are structured into LGAs and counties, right? We grew up in LGAs and county. I mean, we even came abroad. We are here in Jangis, country meetings and all the like. So if you are unable to even remember the old community spirit we had, you know, that voluntary, that ability to volunteer in our community, do the things for ourselves, build our communities. Then in times of crisis, where are you? If you cannot be able to join hands with others to make sure we feed our refugees, we make sure we feed our internal displaced, to make sure that we supply what our people need to defeat the enemy, then there's something actually wrong with you. We are not asking you to give money for diplomacy to give. Well, of course, they are devoted individuals who understand diplomacy. They are paying their citizenship levy, you know, which goes into diplomacy functions like diplomacy, go into functions like also for the refugees, which help the Department of Health and Social Services. You know, people are doing that. Of course, we are asking you, go to your LGs, get involved, draft.
Thank you.
Simple draft of £1,000,
Yeah,
you or $1,000 in a year for your LGA.
Yeah.
And this is money some of you make in a week. You are unable to donate.
Thank you, Comrade Ambrose. I want us to make progress because we will be taking questions.
Paddy, I had something to say. I had something to say here before we go. If you will give me a few,
please do that real quickly so that we can make progress.
What I wanted to say about CNN is that is what we call intellectual dishonesty with them in their journalistic outreach, because they are very, I call it racist also. You know, it could be that if they are not privileged to get the information, why fake figures or listen to what has been said 5 years ago? They are still talking of 3,000 today. That is that is very, very dishonest. And of course, it's a media that we know that they can easily be bought over, because La Republique, through France and other entities that are supporting them, have given huge monies to buy over the consciences of these people who took a vow that they were going to report nothing but the truth. Then, of course, we know that corruption is the talk of the day. And since the Ambazonians are emphasizing now on the rule of the law and wanting to go back to their constitution, while at war, we are building our institutions so that after the war, nobody will say that, okay, we did not know this. We are fighting the war at the same time and building our people, so that people who are sitting on the fences now are not doing anything, especially these youths who have taken the social media to disregard and bring down the interim government that has so gathered the people together. Because formerly it was groups. This group, this man had his militia, this one had his militia, this man had his militia, and there was just chaos everywhere. You know, this group will go and kidnap this other people's group and finish with them, and so on. But when the interim government came in, he organized us, put us in our LGAs, put us in our counties. I want to tell all Ambazonians who are sitting on the fence that when we get back to Ambazonia, of which we are going to get back, it is not going to be like a republic kind of government. Oh, my uncle is this, he was working in this place. No. We will find out what was your role, or your father, or your uncle, or your brother when this war was being executed. We'll find out. And of course, when you are qualified, of course, we know what we are going to do. So that's just what I wanted to add, that those who are sitting on the fence and making a lot of noise and contributing nothing, let them be rest assured, because some of them don't know. They are saying that I'm praying that we should not go to Ambazonia. That's why some Ambazonians are even coming out to fight against Ambazonians who want to go to Ambazonia, because they believe that we are not going to go to Ambazonia. But because this is God-ordained revolution, struggle, and God is in it, whether it's just 2 people or 3 people who are faithful and doing what God wants them to do, we are getting to Ambazonia. I rest my case. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Gentlemen, I just want us to look at something, because the times are critical. We have seen what has happened breaking today after the meeting the president had yesterday We have seen what is happening out there. We have seen the aggression and dishonesty of many who happen to know the truth but have taken the side of evil. And we've seen all sorts of leakages. This video is one of the leakages. This video we're going to be watching now is one of the leakages that I want us to look at it, make some comments for just about 5 minutes, and then we can open the phone lines. If that video is ready, I would like us to watch.
Oh, there's a thing said about them. Oh, IG man, no touch with IG, with this and that. As they be more ambassadors than other people, them. Yes. If they be, how many of them they attend one conflict? How many of them? You see, they put a bring confliction. Chris Anu, Martin Ayin, so each for children, going hell. Yes, that and that. Yes. But they would then down that Sakoli Foki on a wall, Iringwa. Yes. Now another one that, yes. I need to buy clothes to Sakoba for a woman, this and that. Where the beg now waiting? That be the one, it came to my money. Small time, maybe I say open some account for Sako, no man, they say President's Corner. Yes. So they want to talk this and they raise the money, they raise and put and they Sako, they use them. Oh, there's the thing said about them. Oh, IG man, no touch with IG, with this and that. As they be more ambassadors than other people, them. Yes. If they be, how many of them they be attend one conflict? How many of them? You see, they put a bring confliction. Chris Anu, Martin Ayin, so each for children, going hell. Yes, that and that. Yes. But they would then down that Sakoli Foki on a wall, Iringwa. Yes. Now another one that, yes. I need to buy clothes to Sakoba for a woman, this and that. Where the beg now waiting? That be the one, it came to my money. Small time, maybe I say open some account for Sako, no man, they say President's Corner. Yes. So they want to talk this and they raise the money, they raise and put and they Sako, they use them. Oh, there's the thing said about them.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ambazonians, we were just listening to the chairman of the Restoration Council. I listened to this audio for the first time 2 days ago, and I was made to understand that that was a private discussion he had with a friend, John Ba Akuru. Birds of a feather flock together. Akuru is another one of the same kind. You have just listened to him. Comrade Luis, Sango Luis. Can you unmute yourself, please? You're muted. You're muted.
Oh, man.
Yes. What do you have to say?
Can you hear me?
I think I can hear you now. What do you have to say about that? If a person can talk like that in the dark about a man that maybe is his friend, about a woman whom I believe he is aware is married, and the way he looks at everyone, maybe because of certain things. What do you have to say, Comrade Luis? That is the chairman of your Restoration Council. I believe we're having issues with connectivity. I hope we will be able to get Comrade Luis come here to talk with us. Pastor Commando, please.
I don't know. You know, when I hear such immoral words coming out from people who want to lead the little ones, it baffles me. It really, really baffles me. What legacy are we going to leave behind? Are we building a monstrous society where foul language, vulgar language will be the order of the day? When I was growing up, that is why I'm still thanking God today. I'll ever remember to thank Him, because I was born in the 50s. That took me to see our country. That at that time, even though it was called primitive, but we were living a life of moral rectitude. that if you want to say anything in secret or in the open, you know that there is somebody who is hearing you, not to talk of what is going on in this generation. When you can say that, that is why I still want to reiterate that when people say politics is a dirty game, you go and find out it's dirty people who are playing the game. But when God says in his word, in Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2, the Bible says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. And when wicked men mount up to rule, people mourn. We are mourning today because wicked people have entered and taken over the politics of the land. And why so? Because one day Satan came to church and told the church to get out of politics, because he knew that if the church handled politics, which means activities associated with governance, the world was going to live for God. And so he came there, told a lie, and the church bought the lie and ran out of politics, and dirty people came in and spoiled the thing. And today, the general language is that politics is dirty, politics is dirty. But of course not. So I don't think a man like this will go, even if it is not open, because what I'm reading about history tells me that from the abundance of the heart, the mouth will speak. It doesn't matter where the mouth is speaking. So please, this is very, very disturbing and very derogative and destroying. I mean, it's terrible. Thank you.
Yes, Daddy Luis, you're welcome back. I'm sorry for the difficulties you're facing.
I know I'm having some problems, so I'm using a different one now. So,
no, that's fine, Daddy. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I may inject what my brother just said, Commando, I have reservations with people's utterances. One man's opinion remains an opinion. Opinions are opinion, facts are facts. You are entitled to your opinion. I don't know what pushed him to say those sort of things, but certainly I have a lot of reservations with what Chairman said, if those were his words. And as I said earlier, I can control what to say, either publicly or privately, but I can control how to react to it. I think the public has some reservations and very bad sentiments about what Chairman said. And sometimes, you hear there's an expression, even walls have ears. And when you make certain statements, some certain public statements, which are indecent, people start building different opinions about you. And I can, what we can do as a people is that, we're not saints. We can sift out what is right and sift out what is wrong. But, for every situation, there's always a silver lining that we cannot see. There's a silver lining. If there's a hurricane, there's a silver lining. Something nice would happen in spite of the circumstances. So I believe his words is creating an environment, probably a terrible environment among Ambazonians, because we don't expect our leaders to use certain words. We expect decency from them. And I don't know the price that he's going to pay as chairman of the Restoration Council, but the way we react to it, to me, is what makes meaning, not what he said. He may have said some terrible things. It's the way we Ambazonians will react to the statements that he made.
Thank you very much. And to comment on what you have just said, you see, Ambazonians could waive certain things when an individual presents a repentant behavior. But like I made an analogy earlier on, which I said, when it was time for APNC, Kometa was used against the interim government, and it failed. Now, when it was time for inauguration, I would say Kometa was piloted or remote control to make a statement that has created the biggest chaos within our community for such a long time. Someone just sent to me details now, said, after Kometa had finished reading the inauguration statement, he stepped back, came in front, and then made an individual statement by saying, you have a 2-year mandate. From what you said, Sango Luis, it would appear that he took upon himself to create a mandate and to dictate it to the president and to the peoples of Amazonia because he had the privilege at the time to inaugurate. Today, there are leakages from the Restoration Council, and there is concern by Amazonians that certain individuals of the Restoration Council are being lobbied so that their opinion can be fostered and commenters seem to feature. If not, how do you explain that the President of the Federal Republic of Amazonia has a discussion, private discussion, with the chairman of the Restoration Council? Few minutes later, activists are aware of every information and are already congratulating him on the social media. How do you explain that? This same committee wants to dictate to the president of the Federal Republic of Amazonia an election that is clearly unconstitutional. Comrade Ambrose, make your comment so that we can open the phone lines.
Okay, Paddy, next time when you're playing this video, I think you need to blank out some certain words there. It's really disturbing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very disturbing.
It's really
yeah.
We need to blank them out.
No, we don't need to do
because,
this again. It's unfortunate, and that's why I apologize before even doing it. It's unfortunate.
Okay, good. It's very, very, we call it here in pure English, it's very strong language. You know, it's very strong and very, very destructive language he was using there. So, well, before I get to him, I have a package here. It's just going to take 2 minutes, but before I get to him, I will emphasize here, Honorable Luis Itonge, I hope I pronounce your name rightly.
Correct.
I do respect you, and I do respect the views you bring on board. So you came into the Restoration Council genuinely as a representative of your RGA, which is good. So all of this, we need to really overhaul the Restoration Council. Every member who is in that Restoration Council should be sent from the RGA. Even if there are only 40 or 60 RGAs that are already constituted, we need to have people in there who have been elected, selected, and sent to the Restoration Council to represent their people. You understand? Because if it is here in the UK, I'm in Hertfordshire, right? And then the Happening and Hitching constituency, we would have been raising our hands to say, step down now, step down now. Because this cannot be an individual who will represent us for a second. No way. He's not fit for that office. I hear he is head of SCNC. That is another problem. SCNC should be rallying up to look for somebody to get into those shoes. He should be stepping down from that position. I hear he is in Team Amazonia. Team out. He should be stepping down from ACT. And as the Restoration Council chair, he should be resigning immediately. Nobody needs to tell him to do that. He should step down. You know, we don't want to see him anywhere. This is not the nation we dream to build. This is not the Amazonia we dream of. We dream of Amazonia with decency, of which we have enough decent individuals. We grew up in humble homes, morally sound institutions. I came from Bishop Rogan, and many from Sase, and many from all over. These are not the type of people we want to see in, around the internal government or around Amazonian liberation struggle. These are vile individuals, egoistic, uncultured. It's a shame that I will have to talk like this with this tone but sincere, my brothers and sisters, listening to me, televiewers, I am completely disappointed to see that a person who is at the helm of our legislative body is making such utterances, be it in private or what. He should go down for it. That is what I mean. The only price is he has to step down. Nobody needs to. He has to resign. Sorry, Sango, I don't think he is supposed to be a boss, not the boss of any humble individual, humble Amazonian, men or women in that Restoration Council. I know there are a lot of lovely people in that Restoration Council. Please, he's not supposed to be that bad seed in that Restoration Council. Thank you. I raise my case.
See, I just want to Paddy, please.
I just want to say this publicly, Pastor Commando. Let me just say this publicly, Pastor Commando. A moment, please. Let me say this publicly before we make progress. Amazonians, the Restoration Council is not that bad. Listen to me. I have personally communicated with Daddy Sango. You see here, there was a time he disciplined me on one platform. If you heard the way he's spoken, he is not against Secretary Chris Arno, but he has spoken objectively. He has disciplined me on a platform, and he has called me to give me a discipline. And if I trust him to come and talk objectively, it's because of that judgment that I have been able to, you yourself have seen today. There are people at the Restoration Council with high integrity. You call them during this crisis, I'll tell you, I think this is the Secretary General, Madame Lobati, she tells you, listen, I am not picking no call right now when this is going on. I don't have any information, but if you have any information for me, give it to me. If you have anything, she said, I will not tell you anything and don't ask anything. There are lots of people within the Restoration Council of high integrity. But like some of you are commenting right now, there are infiltrations. Yes, when you have Restoration Council members that have constant meetings with activists, briefing them on what they are doing. They are being dictated, engineered, they are dictating ideas to Restoration Council members who want to transform them into votes. Then we will have to check those who are representing us at the level of the Restoration Council. That being said, I will take the last commentaries from you, Pastor Commando, so that we can open the phone lines. Amazonians eager from everywhere, they want to talk.
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to just still reiterate what Comrade Ambrose has said. It's very, very pathetic that, you know, we are hearing this kind of foul language, which is called strong language, which is called indecent language, coming from the top leader of our society, if at all he is the one that actually said that. I'm not doubting his voice, but I'm just saying that for saying sake. Then I want to also say here that I think Comrade Ambrose brought up something very, very powerful. And I'm still with the notion that we are progressing in this struggle. And so the Constitution should be looked into as soon as possible. And one comrade has just said that the LGAs who are actually constituted should bring out decent men, honorable men, honest men, people that fear nobody, people that will not take bribes, people that will not be gossipers, and in their LGAs, and bring them into the Restoration Council, who will be people that we can boast that they can stand up morally and truthfully to speak on the behalf of our people. And if any county or any LGA has a recalcitrant, talkative person that will not speak the truth and who will want to cite, because I for one sitting here, when I hear a situation, I don't just go about talking it. I investigate. I call the people. I don't do everybody that has had a problem in this interim government in one department or the other. I have talked to them one-on-one, and I draw my conclusions. See, to give a collective punishment or whatever to people because, you know, just to appease the people is not a right judgment. God didn't do that. And in God's state, when somebody is found completely beyond doubt that he did this error, I will take to the words of Sango Luis, we are not angels. The person should be ready to apologize. And if you are not ready to be apologized, that is when sanctions should be given to you. Because we do err. All of us, we do err. But what is the way forward as humans? Please, I am sorry. And you mark that error that you did. And it's gone, simple. Why we are fighting here, the history book I'm reading tells me, and I want to quote in Proverbs chapter 13, verse 10, only by contentions, only by pride does contentions come. When you find people contending, there is pride somewhere. And that pride can be curtailed. You don't go and buy it in the market. It is not earned in an academic institution. That pride can be curtailed, especially when we, in this revolution, recognize that this is God ordained. You go back to that God because he talks. God talks. God does not only talk to people who call themselves pastors. God talks to everyone who accepts him and acknowledges him that he is God. He will talk to you in your mother tongue and whatever language you want him to talk to you. When you are good standing
there's
with
a
him,
caller. There's a caller on the line, please.
If I can just inject something very quickly.
Yes, please.
If you
Just caller, just stay on.
okay.
Yeah, go ahead,
Let me
Daddy.
go. Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. You know what happened here is something that reminds me of there's a British poet, Thomas Gray, and that poem is very famous. There is a line that says, "Where ignorance is bliss, 'tis folly to be wise," which simply means what you don't know, you don't know. But if you know what you know, what you don't know, it's terrible. I wish I never heard that audio that was just heard here, because it is troubling. Sometimes the things we do private, when they're brought to the public, it's a scar to us. And I wish I never heard it, because there are some things in life you will wish not to have happened. This is one of them. It's such an embarrassment. But I think what my brother just said a few minutes ago, if I were him, he should come public with a statement to say, you know what, this is something I never thought of doing. He has a moral obligation to apologize to the Amazonian people, much more at the Restoration Council, because it's an unseemly character. And let me tell you something about that chairman. He knows how to get things done. I can tell you that it was very hard for this struggle. Every one of us has some imperfections. Maybe this is one of them. It's one of the blemishes that may it may somehow mess his reputation. But if I were him, I would come publicly to say, you know what, I'm sorry for what I did. I think he would come to the Restoration Council and say, I'm sorry for what I did. So every one of those constituent members can go back and say, you know what, the chairman apologized for what he did. It's not something that I know he can do. But when at the height of your temperaments, if you cannot control them, this is one of the things that you fall as victim. So I just want to make that point, that sometimes there are things you wish you never knew them, or you wish you never heard it. This is one of them. I just feel bad about it.
Okay, caller, please get out, slow your TV set and ask your question, please, quickly. There are a lot of callers on the line. Please, do you want to lower your TV set? You're live on ABC, please. Go ahead. Yes, ask your question, please.
The question I wanted to ask is, I've been following closely all the happenings, the problems within the interim government, And I've been seeing the level of insubordination going on within the interim government. That is to say, the president of Ambazonia, President Sako, has appointed, let's say, like Secretary Chris, and then you have the vice president, and he's surrounded with collaborators that do not actually agree. That is disrespecting the way we Ambazonians sitting here on ground zero we are seeing is unheard of. And at this particular moment, the president, we should be expecting the president to hit his hand on the table for a cabinet reshuffle so that he can bring in people, because he chose a team that he work with and feel comfortable working with them to lead us to Goya.
Comrade, your sound is not clear again. Repeat from when you said the president should hit his hand on the table. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying that the president needs to hit his hand on the table and bring order within the interim government. He should, maybe those other ones like Secretary Chris and some other modes within the interim government are tired, or maybe whatever issue, maybe he can put them aside and bring in those who are willing to collaborate with him with his strategies and the policies within the interim government to lead us to Goya. So up to now, he doesn't need the Restoration Council for him to do a cabinet reshuffle. And so, that's the question I'm asking. Why has the president not reshuffled the cabinet up to this time? Because this is a very critical moment and we don't need all this kind of distraction.
Okay, comrade, thank you for your contribution. I'll drop you now so that I can take other callers. The president will be live tomorrow at 8 p.m. Amber time. I will personally take your question to him, and then you can call back if you don't mind tomorrow, okay? Let me take another caller. Yeah, hello. Yes, caller, where are you calling from, please? Yes, caller, where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from Maryland.
Yeah, go ahead. What's your question?
First of all, I heard your panelists talking a lot about
We are not getting him, Paddy.
Your volume is not clear, please.
Okay. Is my volume clear now?
I think so.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, question goes like, what kind of government does the interim government plans to pursue? Are you trying to emulate the American system of government, or you're trying to emulate the La Republic kind of system of government, or you're going to put the both together? Because first, from what I heard a lot of your analysts saying over there is totally wrong. The president recommends appointees and the Congress approve or not to approve. The Congress has the full authority to approve a nominee for the president.
Okay.
They said no, it goes further. And number two, the VTO O2 just brought up, sorry, this thing has been online for the past 2 years or 1.5 years. You bringing it up now does not make any sense. And all your panelists over there, they claim they have never heard those people do. They are lying, honestly.
Okay, thank you. Your contribution has been made known. Can they respond to your question now?
Yeah, Paddy, let me respond to that.
Okay. Good.
Yes, there is a tradition within the Restoration Council or this government to say that, and I will bring this point here. I want to make the point very succinct. When a president appoints someone, there is a protocol of how we function.
Yeah.
We invite those that are appointed to be vetted by the Restoration Council. So everyone, most of them have been vetted by the Restoration Council. And we have a tradition to reject individuals who have been vetted and have been found unfit to serve in the cabinet. So I don't think people should feel like we don't have a process. We have a very good process. Unfortunately, the president on some occasions ignores the vetting process. And I know that individuals within the cabinet who did not go through the vetting process. So you can't blame the special counsel for not doing their job only because the president ignored that part or that part of the process.
Your volume conversation is not best.
My volume.
Yes, I think it's better now.
Okay. Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. No, what I was
Now,
saying,
but
you have a
based on what you were saying, the concern here is how appointments as the person came up with a rhetoric. I don't know where he got it
Too
from
loud.
because
You're too
huh?
loud, Paddy. You are
yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
vibrating. It's not good.
I think the studio should reduce my volume.
yeah.
It's echoing. Okay,
Yeah, the
good.
president, the
Okay.
president came up, the person in question came up with a rhetoric which I just didn't want to react to. And he proposed that it is the American system, which of course I know it is not. I agree with the vetting process. Yeah,
Correct.
which
Okay.
is uh,
Well, I
yeah.
think what he was trying to say, I was trying to go to that part of it. For now,
Yeah,
because we're not purely constituted, we're not
yeah,
a real nation on its own. We cannot say we are using the American system or whichever system you would choose, to think
yeah,
we should emulate. But certainly, when we get to Boya, we are in the process to have a rewritten constitution. That will be probably the last one that will be written, to define the kind of system that we will promulgate as a new nation. So there are things in progress that have not been finalized. So he has a very good question. He had a very good point, but for
yeah,
now we are it's sort of like hybriding. We take a little from here to make meaning because we have
yeah,
to govern. So we can't say, with certainty that we're using the American system. No, I can't say that with utmost certainty. But then
yeah.
had a very good point. Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to
That's
say that most of the things that are saying here, the president will react to them tomorrow that he will be live. So I'm encouraging all Amazonians to be live. Sending your questions now via comment sections or send them via this number, and we will ask them to the president tomorrow how or what he intends to do. There's a caller
Okay,
on the line.
Paddy.
Yes, caller, where are you calling from, please? Yes, caller, go ahead.
Yes, thanks for the opportunity, and I just want to say something about the comment that was made by Mr. Kometa. I agree that that comment was very despicable, and the utterances that he made were not in line, or they are not in line with someone in the position of leadership as he is. I've also heard some people say that he can come out there and apologize, regardless of if those comments were made in private. What concerns me to an extent is the fact that we've also had leaked videos coming from other members of this Indian government, like top members of the Indian government. So to avoid bias and one-sidedness, I think it is fair for us to bring out all the leaked audios from other members of the other leadership and give them the opportunity to apologize, including those of my everyone. We've seen leaked audios of her saying, speaking some kind of language that was kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, if you have any of those audios, I believe you don't have a question. Please kindly
That's
bring
right.
them to our attention. You have this number,
Yeah,
bring it to our attention, and then we
yeah.
will definitely prosecute it. Until then, the last audio you're trying to mention about Madame Iringwa, if it is the audio that I know, where she was reacting to she was reacting to people who have sent out a video of a sex tape purporting it was her. If that is it, if
Not the one, especially the one on the death of Commando.
Okay, I would like you to send them, and then we will prosecute them. Thank you very much. Can I
Paddy? Yeah, Paddy.
Yes, go ahead.
I want to just react to that young man, or whether it's an old man or whoever, that said that if we are hearing this for the first time, it's a lie. I don't know how some people behave in the society. Why will he categorize and say everybody must have heard that that language? Why is he saying so? Anyway, we just want to let him know that he
No,
is
doctor,
lying. That
doctor,
all of us
don't
have
worry
heard
about that.
it.
Just leave it, because again, no, we don't listen to all the audios anyway. If we're listening to all the audios, we'll not even have time to work. You know.
Exactly. Okay. Thank you.
Paddy, go on with the calls, please.
Yeah, the calls are coming. The calls are coming too many. I can't even pick. Please, if you call the line is busy, just be patient so that I can receive the call of someone. Please, please, please. The calls are really too many. I don't know which to pick. Okay. Yes, hello, caller, go ahead. You can make your contribution.
Thank you. I want to ask the Restoration Council representative who is there.
Yes.
What he means by referring to the ethics committee as the lion's den. So is he passing judgment that the ethics committee is a lion's den, and that if he's following the rule of the law, why is it that the Restoration Council is going to mingle into matters that doesn't concern their own jurisdiction? They are a law-making body. They don't have any judicial powers to judge anybody. If a matter goes to the Restoration Council, they are supposed to refer it to the appropriate quarters. So I don't think that somebody will come and call the other branch of government as the lion's den. And then, so what is his own opinion as to the statement that Uncle B put out there that the Restoration Council is doing everything possible to make sure that the case will ever decrease? What does he have to say about that? Thank you.
Yes, Comrade Sango, please. Sango Luis,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay, now remember before I mentioned the lion's den was because Secretary Chris, in his own words, thought that was a very tough territory for him, and that's the reason why he came to Restoration Council. And among other things, I want you to think about this. You know, we have opinions about people, we have opinions about institutions, and when he came to the Restoration Council, he was coming not because we are judges. No, we are not judges. The Restoration Council is where, if you have a problem, we can resolve the problem. We are not judging anybody. We don't judge anybody. We are not judges. We are legislators who try to solve solutions or solve problems. So if I used the word was going to the lion's den, was because of the mindset of Chris Anu. He wasn't going to a friendly territory. And that is why he came to Restoration Council, just to make that clear. It's not because the people don't trust him, but it's because he doesn't trust the Ethics Commission. And that is why he came to the Restoration Council, so we can be like an arbiter between his complaint and the Restoration Council. That is how it works. And that's the reason we came to the council.
So the second one is the second one is Uncle B actually saying that they are working tirelessly to ensure that the outcome of the Restoration Council ends up in favor of Chris Arnold. With Ambazonians listening to it.
I don't know where you got that information.
Where did you get that? It is in an audio. Maybe we can forward it to you. Or say Uncle B has audio.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think from the beginning of this show, I said that the Restoration Council is looking into all of these matters. They are gathering information. We're in the information gathering stage, where we will be able to determine a lot of information that we've gathered. So we are not in a rush. We're working very hard to make sure that what we say will be based exclusively on what we have gathered from members
all
who've
parties
invited,
involved.
from members who've invited into the council, into the restoration council. So we're using that information to make a determination of what was wrong. So if someone says we are judges, it's a far-fetched idea, because what we do basically is to see what can be done to resolve the problems. It's not an easy process. We spend personal hours, hundreds of hours doing this, because every time we discover something, we have to find a way, whether or not that information is accurate. So sometimes we overstate issues when we don't have to. If I use the word Lions Den, I was just using a form of language to express how Chris felt about the Ethics Commission.
What
And
you
yes,
perceived in what he said.
yeah, exactly.
It's an
Because
allegory, it's just an allegory. It's not that it's
euphemism,
Lions
whatever
Den.
it can be anything. Yes, it's a part of speech. So
Yeah, it's part of it.
let him rest assured that we don't judge people. We look at situations and make recommendations. We are not judges, but certainly we're working very hard on all of the information that we have gathered.
I like the emphasis you've made. We look at situations and make recommendations. Just so you
Correct.
carry this to the Restoration Council, the people of Amazonia are waiting for your recommendations, first of all, to the president, so that we can collectively provide solutions. Thank you. The caller, thank you for waiting this long. Can you go ahead with your question, please?
Okay, Paddy, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I agree your time. My question goes to Honorable Luis. My first question is the ethics committee is created. Is it created to, did the president create the ethics committees to him or to set ambassador?
Okay.
And secondly, if the Secretary Chris took the matter to the Restoration Council without passing through the ethics committees, is the Restoration Council encouraging members of the cabinet to disrespect the president in place, or they are encouraging, or they are discouraging? Secondly, is the Restoration Council using verbal word now to modify the constitution, or they are using using the constitution based on what is written? And my third point goes to Secretary Ambrose, whom I follow for long. I would say it's a recommendation, though. I would say it would be of a dream to see Secretary Ambrose to at least be the head of that Restoration Council. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'll take the next caller. Comrade Luis, any question you didn't get, please let me know and I will.
Yes, maybe.
Now, the first question was.
It was.
Yes, which of the questions did you get?
I think the first and the second even. He had two questions relating to. I think he was trying to allude to
Ethics Commission.
Yes,
he
Ethics
says
Commission.
that we say that the Ethics Commission was created to. Caller, please just wait. Let me finish with this, and then just stay on the line, and then we'll take your question. Let's finish with this. Now he's saying that the Ethics Commission was created to save Amazonia.
Correct, I heard that.
And don't we think that if we are allowing an individual or Secretary Chris that he presides to disrespect it, it is actually the Restoration Council is encouraging insubordination. And then the last one, most probably that you heard, that is it by word that the Restoration Council wants to change a constitution by a mere word? I think it's in reaction to what Cometa did during the day of inauguration.
Yes, I think I heard that. And okay, the first one of the Ethics Committee. Here's the point, and I don't want this to go unanswered. There is an Ethics Commission. An Ethics Commission, the role is to resolve certain issues within the cabinet or within the government. If you have issues, they can find, they're like an arbiter, someone, an in-between person who resolves issues. Now, I don't know how many times I will say this. I will say it repeatedly. And I've told you before that Secretary Chris, for whatever reasons, he made a choice. For whatever reason, he made a choice that instead of going to an ethics commission to have his problem resolved, he decided to come directly to the Restoration Council. And it is anyone's guess to know whether or not it was an error. And we've said it before, that there's a process. Maybe and just maybe, we would have said, go back to ethics commission or someone else who can solve that problem. Do that before you come to the Restoration Council to have your issue resolved. He chose to do a different path. Now, we don't have any, you don't have any control what someone does.
Comrade Sango, now the concern here from this caller, which is also my concern, is don't you think if the Restoration Council would have dictated to him to go back first, and if the outcome was not successful, then they can come to them, it would have helped to instill some respect within the cabinet?
Well, that's a good comment. But this is what it is. I think people should be told exactly the role of the Restoration Council. I don't think it was completely wrong to have come to the Restoration Council to have his problem resolved. I don't think so. But
again, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, do you think that we should define protocols and procedures?
Let me finish. What you are saying is
the president's
what you are saying is he would have followed the channel of procedure before he came to the Restoration Council. You are saying over and over, I've heard this over and over and over, that he moved one step ahead of what he was supposed to do. That's what I've heard from you and from some individuals also. And I've said over and over that, you know what, there is a channel. The Ethics Committee was created exclusively for that purpose, to resolve issues. And if somebody takes his time and says, okay, you know what, I'm not going to go through there, I'm coming directly to this place, it's our judgment to either take him back, to go back, or to have it resolved. And I think before we knew it, it was a can of worms. So I believe in my heart of hearts, I strongly believe that problem would not have been solved with the Ethics Commission. I know that because of what
Let us hope that the problem will be solved now. You can answer the next question, sir.
Yes, that has to do with let's see. What is if someone says something? What the caller was trying to say is, do we have to depend on what the Constitution says, or one personal opinion? Something it says, or something that somebody said orally.
Public utterance.
Yes, it goes both ways. And the reason I said it can go both ways, because if I have a conversation with you and you reveal certain information to me, which is private to you also, I have an obligation, to respect what you said and what I said. I know he's trying to get into the mechanics of whether or not we can have things documented. We can have things said orally and accept them as binding, or should we just follow what the Constitution says instead of us just saying something over the air? And his point he's trying to make is that, we have to live by the rule of law. We have to follow the Constitution, which is a very valid point. However, this was an insinuating circumstance, and I cannot define why that happened, because I'm not Chairman Committee. He's the one who carried out that responsibility. He can tell us exactly why.
I like the way you are avoiding the responsibility. I enjoy the way you are removing yourself from that responsibility, and that is what I would expect others within structures to avoid, things that are unconstitutional and unprocedural. Thank you. I might be taking the last two callers. Yes, caller, please. And then we will shift the rest of the questions to the president tomorrow. The president will be live, and I think he would like to take most of your questions. So I'm taking you and then another caller, and then we'll conclude the day. Caller, go ahead. Where are you calling from, please?
Comrade Luis wanted to say something, please.
All of you in the studio. Hello?
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
I say I'm calling from Bree County. Good evening to all of you in the studio.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes. I have two things I want to say. Look, we have to, the inauguration is just, we have not started it in Ambazonia. People have been inaugurated to power. Even when I used to watch Nigeria film, it was presidential when Sako was inaugurated. When I used to watch Nigeria film, I used to see somebody they call the Onowu. Komita was just the Onowu. He was witnessing the constitution. He was not the one inaugurating Sako. The constitution was inaugurating Sako, and Komita was just the witness. But Komita did not witness the constitution when he used something that is not out of the constitution for Sako. That means he personally, and then that the member from the Restoration Council said that when something is voted, when they accepted on it, it became law. It became law that they had a two-year mandate. Now I want to say that, does it become law before they ask, or does it be? Komita was supposed to ask something from the constitution before the president accept, or it is when the president accept that becomes law, that it becomes law. And then Komita is not supposed to do, it was not Komita that was inaugurating President Sako, it was the constitution inaugurating Sako, and Komita was just witnessing the constitution, was just making sure that all that the constitution says should be followed, not that he should come and impose something from his own egocentric point.
Okay, thank you very much, caller. Do you have any question? I want to take one last caller, and then we can make progress from there.
My question is it when they accept the point that becomes law, or it becomes law before they ask, what I say is that I think that what they said Sako accepted 2-year mandate was, it should have come first from the constitution that was voted as law first.
Okay, we've gotten your point. Okay, yes, comrade, we've got your point. I think,
let me say this. Let me make a point. Let me make a point here. And we are so, I think we're so entrenched into interpreting whether or not what happened was constitutional or not constitutional.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of interpretation in all of this. Now, I am not a lawyer in the first place. I'm a legislator.
Yeah.
Sorry to intervene. We don't need law here, right? They think this young man is asking, and he needs answers. If he's asking from Grand Zero, and there are lots of people who need straightforward answers. Question is simple, right? During an inauguration, right, of a president into office, as an individual who is doing the inauguration going to determine the term of the mandate, how long is going to be in office?
Well, to be honest with you, that's a very technical question. That's what I said. I'm not a lawyer. It's a technical. It's a technical question.
Because if you watch different inaugurations from different states, you know, it's just like if I go to court and the lawyer tell me, I put my hands up, he's reading those things to me, and then he reads to me, say, I will say lies, I will tell lies here, and then I keep on answering, and then at the end, I come, I'm telling the truth. How does it go?
It can go both ways. Honestly, it can go both ways.
No, but the whole thing is he is supposed to follow what is standard
That is
and
correct.
should
Now,
have been defined by those in the Restoration Council.
Yeah, I'm not here to defend Chairman Committee. No, I'm not here to defend him.
No,
here.
I'm not saying that you're defending. I'm just saying the televiewers should really be able to understand that this is it's not correct. And if it's not correct, let us see it that way. Except somebody says it's correct, but I don't see it. For me, it's without any iota of doubt. We are far from it.
Okay,
Sango,
sir.
I think
we are taking the last caller. Do you want to make a comment before the last caller, please? This is the last caller.
Yes,
the studio has just we have to stop now. This is the last caller. Are we ready for him?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, bring it on.
There are like 50 people calling. Please, Ambazonians home and abroad, I want to apologize. I cannot take all calls today. Try to document your thing and send to us. We'll ask the president tomorrow, and I promise that this Sango is a busy man, but he's willing to come every week. He has told me that he's willing to come and talk to the people, and I will bring them and many more members from the Restoration Council. And even the Ethics Commission is having a program on Friday. We will announce the time by tomorrow. You can come and ask your questions. You will be talking to your leaders very consistently via this platform as you are watching me. Yes, comrade, where are you calling from, please?
Thank you very much. I'm calling from Finland.
Okay, what's your contribution?
Yeah, I just have a contribution I want to make with regards to what the member of the Restoration Council has said. It's quite an interesting discussion. He said within the cabinet of the IG, right, when appointments are made, each and every one of these individuals by law needs to come to the Restoration Council for vetting. So that's the law process. Also, when the president makes a major decision or when he creates an institution within the IG, the Restoration Council is informed so that that institution has to perform its function within the confines of the law of Amazonia. So by this example, by this premise, it means the Ethics Commission of the interim government exists within the confines of the Constitution. So if somebody within the interim government bypasses the Ethics Committee and goes to the Restoration Council on the excuse that he thinks, oh, he will not be, the judgment from the Ethics Committee will not be fair enough, I think the problem is the Restoration Council. You do not validate an institution and tomorrow you try to undermine the power of that institution. Okay? If they know they are in the process of making a colossal mistake, they can refer the issue back to the Ethics Committee. And if the decision of the Ethics Committee is biased, then Chris Allen can then go to the Restoration Council, but you don't take such a decision, you bypass the Ethics Committee because you think they are not able to listen to such to what you want to you bring before them. If you do so, then every other member of the interim government will have the powers to do so. We do not create strong institutions by undermining others. We have to follow the rule. And the last contribution I want to make is, if the Ethics Committee for the time being has any powers, let them sanction Chris Anu. He's not the only guy who can speak for Amazonia. Let them sanction him. And then he can go to the Restoration Council as an individual, as an Amazonia, go tell them this is what is happening and I'm not fine. But the Ethics Committee must stand their authority. And the second person I want to talk about is this Cometa issue that is ongoing now. The Ethics Committee will not wait for Cometa to come and make an apology to the Ambazonian people. No, they need to sanction him. These are not the people that need to go out there and speak on behalf of the people of Ambazonia. So let them do their work, and the Restoration Council will do their own work another day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, comrade. The calls keep. Let me respond. All going to make it. Yeah, you are going to respond.
Let me respond something very quick. There is a difference. There's a difference between Ethics Commission and Ethics Committee. I had the Ethics Committee, but Ethics Commission is completely out of the Restoration Council. So I don't want him to mix up Ethics Committee and
no. What I think he's talking about is the Ethics Commission that is completely out of the Restoration Council.
Correct. Yeah. That's out of the Restoration Council. And I don't know how many times I will say this. You know, we don't control people. You know, we don't make choices for what people have to do. But sometimes people might jump. You know, might not follow. We may decide not to follow the process and take a different route. Which I have said that in retrospection, I have made this point that it would have been our duty to tell him to go to the Ethics Commission. people come to the Session Council if that was not going to be possible. But by the same token, I've also mentioned the fact that he thought that was not, the Ethics Commission was not a friendly environment, given the parameters. That is why he came there. And I'm not trying to justify why he did what he did, but I'm just trying to give you, the route that he took, which was probably not correct. So just to
And
make a
that's why
distinction.
this comrade says something. This comrade says we cannot validate institutions and then tolerate recalcitrance before the institutions. Thank you, comrade
The comrade is right,
for
and let us just keep it
your
that way.
time.
Let us not confuse the people.
Yes.
Let's leave it that way.
Yes.
It is very clear
Yes,
that
thank
these
you.
institutions
Thank
are
you,
there. They must be respected.
for all the, thank you all gentlemen for your time. I've had you for 2 hours, 30 minutes, which is quite a lot of time. I remember you, Daddy, telling me it's a lot of time. But this again tells Ambazonians how men of your age are ready to dedicate your time to serve the nation. You're all family men and have children that are looking up to you and waiting for you to take responsibility. We have taken out the time to come and to talk to the people, which is something I'm flattered. I would say I'm encouraged. I want to thank Ambazonians that have participated, those that have called. I apologize to all those whom we've not been able to pick up your calls. Be rest assured, there's a campaign going on. If you have CNN now reporting, it's because of the efforts being made. There's a campaign going on Twitter. Please join. If you do not have a Twitter handle, instead of participating on Facebook gossips, join us on Twitter as we continue to assert our stance vis-a-vis AFCON starting in 5 days' time. Please, your interim government, the people, our brothers and sisters that are facing the bullet in ground zero are looking up to you. I'm talking particularly to the diaspora. Do not hold back your engagement for the people. If that $10 for your CID was your own bullet, then you may have to multiply it at this time when Cameroon army is sending troops. Even CNN says ammo cars. Cameroon army is multiplying the troops in our homeland. You may have to multiply your donation. Ambazonians, this platform is the one and only platform that serves the people with no fear of favor, and that is owned 100% by the people of Amazonia. I will give opportunity right now for my panelists to make their last comment, and at that we will close the program. I'll start with Pastor Commando.
Yeah, I think it has been a very nice time. I just want to reiterate that Amazonia, we are progressing, we are building, and every institution and every article or document of our institution should be progressing together so that we can put aside all these discrepancies that are occurring on our way up. And I want to finally also say that whatever is done now is a precedence that we are setting for what we are going to do tomorrow. If somebody suspects and say this place, this institution, I'm not going there, and doesn't go there and gets into another institution, and that institution doesn't send the person back to be heard first, then tomorrow even somebody will say, this restaurant council, I'm not going there because they will not do this, and then the whole thing becomes a chaos. So if we are setting precedents, let's go ahead. Let nobody just come out with his own suspicion or his own idea, and they will take it as gospel truth, and then keep the person, and then we are eating our mouths here. Let him go there first. Let the results not be favorable, and then you can now appeal to the higher body. But you say, no, I don't like this place because this man doesn't like me, and so on, and we accept. Then tomorrow, that's a precedence. A precedence. Everybody will say, no, I don't like this one, and then they will attack the person. So that's what I just want to say, that let's go back to our institutions and make sure that this 2022, we implement everything in our institutions so that strong men can bow even to our institutions. Thank you very much.
Yes, Comrade Ambrose.
Okay, thank you, Paddy, and thank you for inviting me today to join the panel of very experienced Honorable Luis Itonge, and then Dr. Commando. I just believe that maybe we've given a run for for the money of the televiewers who have been here watching us. What I'm going to say now, I think we should listen very keenly. The past 1 year, I think 2021, 2020, 2021, these have been really, really fruitful years for the people of Ambazonian under the interim government. The restoration forces, I mean, did wonderful things that we watched videos of how they drag the boy soldiers of La Republic all over the place. They did a great job. They continue to do a great job. They could never have been able to do these things if you watching us here, you in the diaspora and you on Ground Zero, were unable to provide them with the resources they needed. Those who drafted and paid, and this went a long way to help in many urges, in many counties. That is why the firepower was there. I think the brilliance of the president, which when he came up, I remember at that time he brought the idea of the draft. It wasn't from a group of people. That was an idea from him about the draft. The very first time he was explaining it, we didn't actually grasp it in the cabinet. There were a lot of debate. But when he wrote it down, we could be able to understand that this was genius. And this is what is really helping us to get to where we are going. He also launched Operation Lava Storm, which has also helped us in many things and many special projects. So I just wish we continue to give him, pray for him. That's the most important thing, and protect him, because this is one of the guys that the La Republic is looking to kill or looking to poison or looking to do anything wrong to him. But because this guy has stood the test of time, he's defended us, and he's shown to us that he's a true leader. So, my dear people, Bazunan, mostly on Ground Zero, I've been receiving lots of messages from you people about how you are disturbed, how much you are disturbed with the co-plotters against the President Dr. Sako. But I will tell you, we stand behind our president because he is the person who has pushed us to where we are right now. You know, he's not one of those who will let our people down. So be confident. We'll do everything possible to make sure that he continues to lead us to where we want to get to. We are in a struggle. We are almost there. So I'm pleased that those in the diaspora, those on Ground Zero, let us give the strength he needs to be able to continue to push us with those around him and also those making the laws. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Daddy Luis, please, I know you have a lot of wisdom and you share it with us. It's a time we need the energy from people like you.
Yeah, thank you so kindly for the opportunity. I think we're here to do one thing, to resolve some questions. And I also believe that in every situation where you have issues, for the most part, there are solutions. If you are very diligent enough, we can always count on the rule of law. I believe very strongly that one of the reasons that we have problems, not only in our own homes, in institutions, in our community, is when we break the law. I think it's very common practice that when you stick to the book, sometimes people will think that you are excessively strange or you do things in a manner that is not appreciated when you stick to the law. And people, the common man, most of the time, they don't like someone who sticks to the law. To say you are stern, but that is where you can get comfort, because whenever you doubt about anything in your life, you try to look for the truth, and the truth always comes from the rule of law. And that is why you have the commandments. That's why you have policies and procedures. That's why we have a constitution. And these things help us a lot to let us not go astray. And I believe very strongly in the rule of law. Because if you live by the rule of law, we will not even have this confusion. Because Nobody's going to blame you or is going to ask you second questions. Why did you do this? Because if you look at how the person, helped himself to a point of success, it's because he followed instructions, how it is done accurately. Because if you follow the instructions, how something is done accurately, you don't have any question. Nobody will even question your authority or audacity, how you conducted the business. So basically, to end up, I thank comrades who have been very, very judicious and very nice during the discussion. Comrade Ambrose and Commando, I appreciate your ideas, but certainly we had a great opportunity to tell them, the Ambazonian people, exactly what it is that we're worth. We're worth being in Boya, and just factually accurate. And I thank your audience. Thank you, the moderator.
Thank you.
And I hope that in future we would have something, maybe a more robust discussion than we've had today. Thank you so kindly.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be having you again, or other members of the Restoration Council as proceedings or the revolution evolves. We will, it is of necessity that we come first and foremost to take these challenging questions from the people and also to inform them on what is actually happening. At this point, I would say for us to just sit and relax, and we have come to the close of today's program. I would like to once again invite all Ambazonians watching to come tomorrow in their numbers, because the President of the Federal Republic will be live at 8 p.m. Amber time to react to, first, the allegations that have been levied about him by his constitutional successor, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Amazonia, and also to talk to us on certain issues as per his end of year statement and the vision of 2022. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. And I would say, God bless you. Just
all
sit
right.
back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paddy. Have a nice evening, everybody. Yeah.
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 Okay. Bye-bye.